ACPD, July 8th. Sound check one, sound check one.
Welcome, everybody, to the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disability meeting on July 8th, 2025. We are currently waiting for quorum. Thank you. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities, July 8th, 2025 meeting. I will now commence a roll call. Please indicate your presence when I call your name. Benjamin Cullimore. Not here. I don't know why I was looking. Kara Hernold.
Present.
Here. Levi Genosi.
Here.
Leif Johansson.
Present.
Thank you. Hargan Carr. Paula Kilburn.
Here.
Thank you. Jake Maurice.
Here.
Thank you. Mark McNeil. Okay, we'll go Robert. Mark, are you able to respond? We need to be able to determine when you're here. We have it without. Mark? Don't know what to just move on, or we have to wait for him. Okay, we'll continue with roll call. Tim Murphy is not here. Kim Nolan and Tim Nolan, I believe, will be late. Are they here yet? No, don't hear that. Robert Westbrook.
Here.
Yeah. And Councillor Mark Taddison. No. So one more call for Mark, please. Can we proceed or? Okay, Mark, we really do need you to respond in some form or another to let us know you're there. Because we're very tight on quorum and we kind of need you.
I couldn't get mine to work either. I had to go out and in twice, so maybe if he goes out again, comes back in.
Yeah, I had the same issue.
If you hear that, Mark, please try and leave the meeting and then come back in if you're having difficulties.
I've had server issues at my work all day today as well.
So we getting access to.
Okay, sorry, everybody. We're just going to have to recess until we can confirm quorum. Please stay tuned. Wait, my mic's on. Sorry, my mic wasn't on. I apologize. As we have quorum present for today's meeting, I would like to call this meeting of the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities to order. As well, a reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. Ceremonial activities. Before we get to ceremonial activities with Elsie McIntosh reading the land acknowledgement, I would like to take a moment to recognize that Lance Stingman passed away last night and is no longer with us, so I'd like to just give him a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Lance will be very missed. He's a great advocate for persons with disability, and I'll miss his input. Elsie McIntosh will now read the Hamilton land acknowledgement.
The city of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase, 1792, between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the city of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, North America, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers.
Thank you, Elsie McIntosh. Approval of agenda. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented? Moved by Paula, seconded by Tara. Thank you. Are there any amendments to the agenda? No. So are there anybody opposed to the agenda as presented? I'm seeing none. That's carried. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none. Thank you. 5, approval of minutes of the previous meeting, 5.1, June 10th, 2025. May I please have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes as presented? Mover and seconder.
I'll move.
Thank you, Levi. Seconded by Paula. Thank you. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll ask, is there anybody opposed to adopting the minutes? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you. Delegations. Before we begin our delegation for today, members are reminded that questions of the delegations are for clarification purposes only, not for debate. A note to our delegate, you have 5 minutes to complete your delegation. We have 6.1. Chris Heidbrecht, and I apologize if I mispronounced that, respecting community co-design of a heat risk resource to promote awareness and action to address heat injustice. Please, Chris, you have 5 minutes as you start.
Thanks so much. Mr. Chair and members of the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities, my name is Chris Heidebrecht. Thank you so much for providing me with an opportunity to delegate today. I'm a PhD student at McMaster, and my research is on extreme heat from a climate justice perspective. What I'd like to do today is introduce the project that I'm working on this summer and invite anyone who's interested to participate. I'm happy to answer any and all questions that we have time for today and to circulate more detailed study information to anyone who may be interested or to folks who may know people who might be interested in participating. We can also set up a separate info session if that would be helpful. My contact information is on the slide. I think, Carrie, you were going to show the slide. Please feel free to send me an email, call, or text me if you'd like more information. So we know that heat disproportionately impacts certain groups of people. Some individuals and communities are much more likely to be exposed to extreme heat and or to be harmed from exposure to extreme heat. These communities include people living with disabilities, older adults and young children, newcomers to Canada, individuals with lower incomes, folks who are unhoused or insecurely housed, renters, and individual with a health condition that is worsened by heat. However, what really angers me and is the focus of my work is the fact that the experiences and perspectives of these groups are almost never considered when we talk about extreme heat. We often talk about heat in terms of numbers. We talk about temperatures, statistics, models, but these alone cannot fully capture the picture of who is most affected or how people navigate extreme heat in their daily lives. So the project that I'm doing is rooted in my belief that those who are most affected by heat must be centered in how we understand and respond to it. So I'm hoping that the work I'm going to be describing today can both visibilize and humanize the heat crisis that we're facing and that we know will worsen along with climate change. So together with community members, as well as community leaders and city personnel, I'm going to be co-designing a map-based heat risk resource that will bring together some of the conventional data that we look at when we think about heat, like building density, tree canopy, cooling infrastructure, with lived experiences and local knowledge of community members. So my goal with this work is to develop an interactive map that not only supports evidence-based policy and planning, but also can be a tool for education, advocacy, and visibility to the human impacts of the heat crisis, especially in areas where heat injustice is most profound. So this summer, I'll be inviting community members to participate in small workshops of 4 to 6 individuals, which will be held online or in community spaces. At these workshops, I'll invite participants to share their experiences of extreme heat, identify areas of the city where they feel hottest and coolest, describe barriers to existing cooling spaces and resources, and share their ideas about other resources or actions that they would like to see with respect to extreme heat. At the workshops, I'll have large maps that participants are welcome to write or draw on if they would like to, so that we can kind of spatially link knowledge and experiences with specific parts of the city. The workshops will be around 90 minutes long, and participants will be provided with an honorarium of $50, cash or gift card. It would be participants' choice, to thank them for sharing their time and knowledge. I'll also be inviting workshop participants to participate in optional future feedback sessions. As this is a co-design process, I'm hoping to give participants an option to provide feedback about the resource as it's being developed. So folks would have an opportunity to take a look at sort of multiple drafts to say, I like this, I don't like this, I think this is needed, and maybe this isn't needed. And ultimately, when it's complete, I hope that this map reflecting community knowledge and experiences can be a tool for advocacy, education, and planning to address extreme heat and heat injustice. So if you think you may be interested in participating or know others who you think might be interested in participating, I'd love to connect with you. Thank you again for providing me with an opportunity to share.
Thanks very much, Chris. Do we have any questions? Oh, see one. Kara.
Thanks, James, and thanks, Chris. Is your research at all tied with the city's declaration on a climate emergency? Like, how does that play into this, if at all?
I mean, I think I'm hoping that because the city has declared a climate emergency, that they are looking at the ways that that emergency is playing out. I will be inviting folks who work at the city to participate as well, so that this resource reflects their questions and information that they would like to see. So it's not directly tied to that, but I'm hoping that given that that has happened, that they will be more receptive and open to potentially participating. It's certainly voluntary, but if not participating themselves, then seeing the resource as something that could be a tool that could help them address that emergency.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Excellent. Next up is Paula.
Thanks.
The group sessions that you're going to have, how accessible will they be? You may have people who want to participate that have hearing loss or vision loss? How are you going to accommodate those people?
What I would hope to do, and I certainly want to make them as accessible as possible. So I think what I would do is invite any folks who are interested to work with me to kind of co-design the space. So if it's easier for folks to be in an online space, then we'll certainly do that with closed captioning and that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess I would hope that I could work with potential participants to find out ways that I could make the workshop be accessible. I've got sort of a draft outline of how the workshops will go, but I'm not tied to having it be a specific format. I want to be able to create a space that allows people to share in whichever way they feel most comfortable.
Right. I know you said you had a map. A map for a person with vision loss is not very helpful. So I don't know how you would get around that one.
Yeah, I think I would in that case, and this is something I've talked about with the chair as far as and I'm still trying to figure out what that would look like, what at the end of the day, how the resource could be shared with folks with vision loss. But as far as communicating within the workshop, it certainly, folks don't have to write on the map. They can just share verbally. I'm seeing the map as sort of a tool to help facilitate the conversation, but it certainly doesn't need to be the only way that we're communicating.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I want to thank you very much, Chris. I will be in touch some other day. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.
May I please have a mover and a seconder to receive the delegation? Moved by Paula, seconded by Robert. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this particular? Paula, if you wouldn't mind for a minute, I just want to your recommendation.
Yes, I'll take the chair, sir.
Thank you. I just have a comment and hopefully just to call it to the group. Mapping is tricky and understanding things and how they work with each other on a map is important. So coming up with some way to make them more accessible to people with vision loss, I think it's valuable. So I'm just hoping that people can help with this work through the project, and that's all I have to say. Thanks, Paula.
You're welcome. I give back the chair.
Thank you. Kara.
Yeah, thanks. Just to participate in the discussion, I'm not sure I caught who exactly is the audience for the mapping. Is it city officials and planning folks, or is it people with disabilities?
I can answer this a bit. This map is, have you heard of the Laval heat map? It's a heat map that was produced a few years ago to show different areas of heat doming and high heat areas. The map in Hamilton showed that the lower city is quite at risk. And it's this work I think is grown from that, as being able to see things in a visual context overlaid really gives people an indication of who's at risk and what work needs to be done where.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. Thanks.
Okay. So seeing no other comments then, is there anybody opposed to receiving the delegation? No? Okay, thanks very much, everybody. That is carried. Okay, 7, items for information. In the interest of time, we're going to hear all the items for information, 7.1 to 7.9, and then receive them together at the end. 7.1, customer relationship management. We have Sheila DuVernay, a manager, business and support services, is present to provide the presentation. Sheila.
Did you want to put it on screen? Thank you very much. I just wanted to provide some information to the committee and an opportunity to participate. The city had introduced a customer relationship management tool early last year, and for the past year has been working on internally leveraging the tool, including training for staff, understanding of features and functions of the tool, where to use the tool, et cetera. And this year, and for the remainder of the project, we will be focusing on the public and the public's ability to interact with the tool directly through the portal, myhamilton.ca. So we will be launching by the end of the year a number of different digital applications, forms, service requests that the public can complete, self-serve, and process through the city. So really, this is awareness, and as we launch the different forms and applications and processes that are going to be on the portal, we would like that to bring that to the attention of the committee members and allow an opportunity for the committee members to get a sneak peek of what they will see. We are following a accessible by design approach, but nothing substitutes for real people using the tool.
I apologize. Just before we, could you just clarify what exactly you mean by the customer relationship portal? I'm not entirely sure that we're quite understanding what you mean by that.
Sure. So when for example, if the public wants to apply for pre-authorized payment for property taxes, they would now be able to. This type of service has not been available for a few years now, and that will now become available by the end of the year. The public can now log on to a portal and securely apply for pre-authorized payment for property taxes. Or if the public sees a problem, bus shelter or glass broken or pothole, they can now report that to the city rather than calling or coming in person. It's just another channel by which the public can interact with the city.
Okay, I hope that clarifies things for everybody. It certainly did for me a little bit. Anybody have any questions for Sheila on customer relationship management?
Yes, James, I do.
Paula?
Yeah. So are you going to send us a link to this making it fully available to everybody, or are we going to get the link at the same time as everybody else?
I've asked to be on this agenda standing for the remainder of the year. We are not planning on releasing anything till the end of the year. So I'm hoping to get your feedback and participation long before it's actually launched to the public.
Okay, because the Hamilton websites are absolutely horrendous for anybody with vision loss. So there's too many steps you have to take, and trying to find a form or fill out a form has always been a dilemma. So hopefully, if we can see these before you go live, we may be able to, make sure that everybody can be able to use them. So.
Thank you, and we couldn't agree more.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? No? Paula, could you take the chair for a minute?
Yes, sir. I take the chair.
Thanks very much. So it says WCAG 2.0. We're up to 2.2.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it going to be to the newer standard, or because you started this project with 2.0, that's where it is?
Yes, we're.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you. Yes, we started the project with 2.0, so the early look at any of the forms and accessibility features and red flagging, the tool is at 2.0. We are looking to migrate to 2.2, but we haven't done it yet.
Thank you. Another further question on that. Is the city looking at perhaps adopting EN 301549 as well, which is a European Canadian accessibility standard that kind of goes a little bit beyond the WCAG? I'm just curious, not to throw you on the bus.
No, that's fine. In my discussions with digital comms and other stakeholders within the city, that has not been mentioned. However, I can mention it and find out where it is on the roadmap, if it is on the roadmap.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I did have a couple other questions. So complaints, this is another portal. So while this is open to us in a beta version, say, do the complaints, can I just come up and make a complaint and just make a bunch of complaints and just say this is a test complaint and see how this flies, or?
Yep. Yes, we can do that. We will actually demo it for you. We will show you the form. We will show you how it works. If you want to participate as a tester, no problem. We can get you an account so you can do the testing and provide your comments to us.
Thank you very much. Because as far as accessibility standards, you're right. Nothing beats actually doing it. All these testing programs can tell you that you're good, but when you actually go to use it properly, it's not. So I agree. So excellent. I'm sure I will participate, and I'm sure others will participate. Thank you. I think that's the end of my questions.
Okay, you may have the chair back, sir.
Thank you very much. Oh, we have a problem.
Yeah, we don't have quorum.
So,
Joined the meeting?
did somebody just join the meeting?
Just left.
Somebody just left.
Hello?
Hi there, it's Hargan. I'm just calling in from my phone.
Oh, hi, Hargan. Oh, excellent. No, you got great timing. So perfect. Thank you very much.
So how do we put our names down to help with this testing?
Hi, it's Sheila. Yeah, so I am a standing agenda item for this committee, and I will be coming every month to this committee. So you can let me know at any time, including after this particular meeting, or anytime you can reach out to me, or during a committee meeting or after a committee meeting, and we will make sure that we get your name on the list.
Okay, thank you.
Paula, any other questions? Okay, I'm seeing none. Then, well, thank you very much, Sheila. I really appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you.
Okay, I have to relinquish the chair for Built Environment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Built environment update.
So there's two notes on here because I wasn't able to get the first set of meeting notes done in time for the last meeting, but we did discuss it already. This is the one where we discussed the convention center and upgrades. What else did we discuss? Oh, yes, and Camilla also came and discussed the plan of possible working with the Hamilton Fire Department as well. Moving on to what you don't know about yet, Built Environment Working Group, July 2nd. We had a discussion with Christina Geisler on this year's patio season. They've now published a list online for people to access to find out if the patio has been approved or not. Our request to have some sort of symbol or sign was not able to be accomplished this year, but they're redesigning the license for next year, and their goal is to have something that can be hung in the window so people can walk by and see if it's an approved patio or not. We also discussed sidewalk bypasses. The sidewalk bypasses are the same design we had last year, which means a sturdier base. The aluminum strips around the edge are white cane detectable. There are 3 of them this year in Hamilton, 2 on James Street North and 1 on Ottawa Street North. There was also another property in Dundas that while it wasn't a sidewalk bypass, apparently the patio redirected people around on the sidewalk. I haven't seen a picture of it yet, but to ensure that it was white cane detectable, they lifted the entire patio up an inch or two so that a white cane can feel it around the edges all the way across. So that was a good step for them as well. We appreciate that. Anything else? Oh yeah, we discussed the Concession Street BIA. They had purchased 3 patios just to have for people to just sit on. And while we had no issues with that, it was all done approved and above board. We just raised the issue that the loss of accessible parking should be an issue when these sorts of things are approved, and they'll put it down for next time. And that was it for that. We also reviewed the LRT route and station update that was just published. To give a quick update of new events, Carl, Brad, and I from the Disability Justice Network, the Hamilton Community Benefits Network, and us met last week to start working on a disability justice audit for the LRT. So we're going to be reviewing the plans for the stations. We're going to be pointing out what deficiencies there are, what issues we have with crossovers, et cetera, and hopefully put that together in some sort of document for September. So please take some time to review the LRT route and station update, and please give me your thoughts. And I hope to have more information on that soon. Okay, that's it for built. Any questions? Sorry, that's your part. Sorry.
I know, that's okay. Are there any questions on that?
No.
No? Okay.
So moving on to outreach. The nominations are in full swing. As far as I understand, it's going well. They will be up July 18th, I believe they close. The invitations for the exhibitors for the fair went out yesterday. So far, we already have 6 exhibitors registered. Motion reached out. They not only want to provide mobility devices for the HSR DART station, but they also want to create a garage space where they can do maintenance demonstrations and repair work, because they'll have a technician on site as well. Another company has reached out to do some demonstration of safety systems for power chairs so you don't run into people, fall off curbs, that sort of stuff. So I hope to have more information on that soon. Advertising plan shall be ready for next week so that we can start purchasing advertising. Unfortunately, our poster plan just fell through, and I will update outreach next week. And I want to point out that we are going to need judges very soon. So anybody that can take some time, a couple of hours to go through the nominations and adjudicate, please let me know, because that will be happening probably by the end of July. I think that's it for outreach so far.
Okay, any questions for James on the outreach? No? Okay, thank you.
And that's, there was no housing working group update. We did not meet this month. So, and strategic planning, I just noticed. I will be scheduling a meeting this month because we have a 5th Tuesday. So I think I'll just be doing strategic planning on the 5th Tuesdays of the month. That seems like a good time. So that's it for me.
Thank you, James.
And I will take back the chair.
You may have the chair, sir.
Thank you very much. 7.6, Transportation Working Group update.
Well, I can't tell you anything because I wasn't there. Tim chaired it, so I haven't really got a clue what went on. So I believe the notes have been published, right?
There is notes, so I guess everybody would have a chance to read the notes then.
Yeah, yeah. And if you have any questions from the notes, let me know and or Tim, and we can go through it that way. But it's no good me just going through the notes because I don't really know what was discussed. Sorry.
Okay.
Same with the ATS policy review. I wasn't at that one either.
We don't have a policy review update on here for the moment. I don't think.
Oh,
we
you
have
don't?
one for that, no.
Oh, okay.
So that's it for you. The only thing we have left is the late cancellation policy.
That would be Michelle.
Yes, I was going to move on to that.
Okay,
Thanks very much, Paula.
you're welcome.
Okay, 7.7, Tim is not here. So we'll move straight into 7.8, PW 25049, accessible transportation services, late cancellation and no-show policy. Michelle Martin, Manager, Accessible Transportation Services, is present to provide the presentation.
Thank you through the chair. I'm just going to get myself set up to share screens. Ah, perfect. Okay, so thank you very much for having me here today to provide you with the policy update. There was a memo as well that sort of walked, for the purpose of that memo was to walk committee members through sort of the history of review of the policy and the purpose of the policy updates. And this presentation will describe sort of the differences between the previous policy and the current policy, specifically the updates that were made based on feedback from Transportation Working Group members. So the goal is to, of course, enforce the late cancellation and trip no-show policy in order to improve service for everybody, because unused trips can be reassigned when they're canceled in a timely fashion. So along with the change to a points-based system to allow for ease of tracking and explanation for customers. It was also updated to better work with the software that was installed to track and respond to the policy violations, and also to make it easier and more efficient for us to excuse violations when it's appropriate, because we know there are a lot of times when it's appropriate to excuse a policy violation. And of course, as mentioned, there were additional updates made to address Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities concerns raised. So I'm just going to walk you through the differences, major differences. Both policies were provided as appendices to the memo if you want to read about them in detail or if you have any questions for me after. So the 2005 policy says the policy applies to any DARTS passenger who exceeds one or more of the following conditions in a calendar month period: a maximum of 6 late cancellations, a maximum of 3 no-shows, or a maximum of 7 combined late cancellations and no-shows, or a maximum of 25% with a minimum of 10 occurrences of subscription and or casual booking trips canceled. And note that fourth point in the 2005 policy also included cancellations that were made on time. So there was a penalty or a policy violation flagged if you were canceling really frequently. In the 2025 version of the policy, we apply points which are added up by the enforcement software to generate mailing lists of letters according to the level of the policy violation. So a no-show is worth 2 points, a cancellation is worth 2 points, a late cancellation is worth 1 point. And when a passenger meets or exceeds a combined total of 7 points, then they are in violation of the policy. There's no longer any penalty for so-called excessive cancellations. So if you're a frequent canceller but you're canceling on time, there's no penalty applied. So now let's talk about levels of warning. So the 2005 policy only applied 1 level of warning before suspensions were implemented. So for the first policy violation in a calendar month period, you got a warning letter. For the second violation within a 12-month period, you got a 3-day suspension. Third violation within a 12-month period, you got a 10-day suspension letter. And fourth and subsequent violations within a 12-month period were a 30-day suspension. The 2025 update adds a second level of warning before proceeding to any suspension. So your first violation in a calendar month period gets an education letter. The second violation in a 12-month period gets a warning letter. The third violation in a 12-month period gets a 3-day suspension. Fourth violation in a 12-month period, a 10-day suspension. Fifth and subsequent violations in a 12-month period, a 30-day suspension. So the priority is shifting more in the direction of customer education and to allow adequate time for people to understand the policy and to take the steps they may need to take or understand the steps they may need to take to communicate with the contractor DARTS or the Accessible Transportation Services about why a trip was canceled or a trip was no-showed at their end. So now we move on to appeals. The 2005 policy, after the first warning letter, you could appeal within 10 days by phone to the ATS supervisor, Accessible Transportation Services supervisor. And then after the second and subsequent letters of suspension, the appeal must be made in writing and received within 20 days of letter date. And then the appeal panel is accessed when the supervisor and the customer do not agree. Passengers receiving notice of a 30-day suspension may appeal to the panel to have medical trips excluded. That's the 2005 policy. And under the 2005 policy, the appeal panel consisted of Accessible Transportation Services staff, contractor DARTS staff, and a member of a representative from the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities. Under the 2025 policy, this is the way appeals work. So after the first and second letters, you can appeal within 14 days by phone call to the Accessible Transportation Services supervisor. And of course, the first and second letters are an education letter and a warning letter. And so your appeal in that instance would be to call and say, no, that wasn't really a policy violation for this reason, right? And then the ATS supervisor, Accessible Transportation Supervisor, can decide whether or not they'll honor that request. After the third and subsequent letters of suspension, the appeal must be in writing and received within 14 days of letter date. The appeal panel is accessed when the supervisor and customer do not agree. So you can make a phone call to the supervisor, even in that instance, but it should be in writing and to activate the access to the appeal panel. For any level of suspension, customers may appeal to the Accessible Transportation Supervisor to have medical trips excluded. So this is different than the previous policy. They were only allowing exemptions for medical trips if the suspension was as long as 30 days. In this policy, for any period of suspension, you can call the Accessible Transportation Services supervisor to say, well, on that day I have to go to the doctor, and the supervisor can allow the trip. And the last change to the appeal process in the 2025 version of the policy, we no longer have representation from the contractor on the panel. Rather, the panel consists of Accessible Transportation Services staff, a representation from City of Hamilton Talent and Diversity, and Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities. So now let's talk about the letter contents. Letters based on the 2005 policy included the dates of incidents that resulted in a policy violation, the level of action under the policy, information on how to appeal violations or suspensions, an offer to call Accessible Transportation Services with any questions, and of course the privacy notice. Under the 2025 policy, all the letters based on the policy contain an explanation of the point system and the number of points accumulated, the level of action under the policy, whether it's an education, warning letter, or a suspension letter, including the length of suspension, warning regarding actions in the event of subsequent violations. So if this happens again, then this is what the next consequence will be. A list of dates and the pickup and drop-off locations of each occurrence that resulted in a policy violation to make it easier for somebody to remember what happened or may have happened. An offer, of course, to call ATS, Accessible Transportation Services, with any questions, an offer for an alternative letter format upon request, and information on how to appeal violations or suspensions, and of course the privacy notice. So the next steps, actually I forgot to include on here that following presentation to Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities, we will of course present the policy for the information of the Public Works Committee. We'll post a plain language version on the Accessible Transportation Services webpage, and we would also, of course, include it in the user guide. We will need to draft appeal panel terms of reference and work with the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities on how their representation will look. And we are targeting to begin initial mailouts in Q3 of 2025. And we are excited to get going on the policy. It seems, you know, on the face of it, oh, you're punishing people for canceling late. Sometimes it's not their fault. We recognize that, and we wanted to make sure we had a policy that built in plenty of time for customer education and plenty of time to appeal or to make corrections where necessary, et cetera. One of the great things about the software that's been installed is it's going to make it very easy, much easier than in the past, for Accessible Transportation Services staff to see at a glance just simply the customer numbers where there was a policy violation and compare against other records we may have, complaints or incident reports, so we can eliminate policy violations for a group of people right off the hop before even sending a letter, that kind of thing. And of course, you know, this is a matter that does need to be addressed. We do have a late cancellation rate that's about 5 times higher than peers that were surveyed in 2021. And we do know that it impacts service and also cost to deliver service. And I'll be pleased to take anybody's questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Michelle. Are there any questions for Michelle on this?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead,
I have
Paula.
a couple of questions. Okay. Michelle, the education part from the first letter, is there in there an option to call ATS to have that education part read to them or go through it with them? As some people don't sometimes, you know, it doesn't make sense to them sometimes when they read it. So if they have a cognitive, maybe a bit of a cognitive problem, or they're more of a listening learner than a visual learner.
Chat from Bates, Tamara speaker list, Paula now.
Through the chair, thanks for the question, Paula. Yes, the contact information for Accessible Transportation Services is provided, of course, always in the header of the stationery that the letter is generated on, and as well, it's included in the body of the letter. And people are invited to contact Accessible Transportation Services if they are concerned about the letter. Our team of customer care representatives are very good. I listen to them speak on the phone every day. They're very good at walking our customers through written information that they've received. The user guide is frequently what they walk them through. They happily walk anyone through any letter that they've received to ensure that they understand the information that they've been given.
Okay. Secondly, where else is this going to be advertised about the new system?
Thank you for the question. So I will, of course, send an email blast to my list of over 100 agency contacts. I think we will, once it's been presented to Public Works Committee and received there, we'll add that information to the user guide, the Accessible Transportation Services user guide, and to the Accessible Transportation Services webpage. And we will also distribute take ones on the DARTS vehicles so that people have the opportunity to know that we will be returning to policy enforcement. It's been many years since the policy was enforced. And that's also, you know, a big consideration. That was also a big consideration in adding the education letter level of warning, just to give that extra time to people.
Okay, and the last one, after the 30-day suspension, are you going to re-educate passenger so that they realize that if they do it again? Now, does that start all over again, Michelle?
Thanks for the question. There's a reset after there's a reset. I am really pleased to be able to answer the questions because it's important that as much of the policy is explained publicly, in advance as possible. So after a year, there is a reset. I also understand from the software provider who's also, which is Trapeze, who's also implemented or built similar software for other providers, that suspension letters are very rare. So what happens is, I understand this anecdotally from the person, of course, I haven't read a study about it, but what I understand happens is, with the return to policy enforcement or the beginning of policy enforcement, there's going to be a high volume of letters that go out that are warning letters, that are education letters and then warning letters.
Right.
And then you'll see an immediate improvement in people calling in advance and canceling their trip in a timely manner. And then you'll see some 3-day suspensions, but 30-day suspensions are exceedingly rare. Normally, we know in accessible transportation services when there have been a series of cancellations and we can't get a hold of a customer, for example, that there may have been illness or perhaps someone is deceased or moved away and we haven't been notified. And so typically what we do is we can see they haven't been booking trips. We can see there have been a lot of cancellations and no-shows. We try to get a hold of them. We're not successful in reaching them. And so we'll suspend the profile with a note that if they contact DARTS, to please reach out to Accessible Transportation Services and give us their updated information. That's how that's managed in a practical manner. So I don't anticipate we'd be seeing a lot of 30-day suspensions.
Okay. Can I ask one more question, James?
Yeah, one more.
Okay. Does this include subscription trips?
Through the chair, it would include all trips that are late, canceled, or no-showed.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Paula.
Very good job, Miss Michelle.
Thank you. We have Councillor Taddison up next. I'm sorry, Councillor Taddison, you're cutting out. I'm sorry, we couldn't hear anything out of that. It must be a really bad connection. Please try turning your video off and then give it one more shot.
Michelle, why was the policy stopped previously?
Through the chair, I understand, it was before my tenure. I understand from staff around about 2014, it was becoming unwieldy and problematic. Enforcement was because of entry errors in coding trips and just the amount of work involved to manually collate reports from trip admin and tally up letters that needed to go out, and many clients, as I understand, were getting letters when there hadn't been a violation on their part. So we expect with the implementation of the software that will resolve a lot of this. It will make tracking and forgiveness of incorrectly flagged violations very easy, and we'll be able to effectively communicate and enforce.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Councillor Taddison?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So any other questions for Michelle? Seeing none. Paula, could you take the chair for a minute?
Yes, sir, I take the chair.
Thanks very much. I'm not going to go into the certain people that, by the nature of their disability, cancel a lot, because you've covered that. We've had this discussion, so that's good. One of the things that just flagged for me when you were going through your presentation, though, a lot of it was dependent on a mail service. And I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the mail service has become very unreliable. I got a whole handful of 2 months worth of hydro bills the other day in one shot. And because you got some time-sensitive mailing issues, I just want to raise that might be a concern. So.
Yeah, thanks for flagging that, James. I do know that lately, to your point, sometimes it comes very quickly, the mail, and sometimes it doesn't. We would be very aware of that, I think. And we are in the process of establishing our internal procedure, right? And I would expect that we would want to be making a phone call before enacting a suspension.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. I just, it's something that we're all dependent on, and then suddenly it's not as reliable as it was. So I wanted to bring that up. Okay. Thank you. I'll take the chair back.
You may have the chair, sir.
Thank you very much.
I just had a quick question, James. It's Hargan. I'm not able to raise my hand.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Hargan.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Michelle, I might have missed this during the presentation, but I think you mentioned we have a much higher rate of late cancellations than other kind of agencies. Do you know why that might be, or anything that you found initially in your early kind of work so far?
Through the chair, we strongly suspect it's because of lack of policy enforcement. And I should add to Councillor Taddison's earlier question, when we were talking about returning to policy enforcement, not long after I joined Transit in 2019, we then had, of course, the worldwide pandemic. And so we weren't interested in sending warning letters to people for canceling at DORA last minute, because in those days, certainly we would want people to cancel if they needed to cancel because of a positive test or symptoms, right? So.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you, Hargan. Any other questions? Okay, I'm seeing none. Then what's next? Okay, no, I don't have to move that. All right, 7.9, response from the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities respecting the Fair Assist Pilot Project Interim Report PW 232024C. Should I relinquish the chair now? It says relinquish the chair at the end.
Oh, no, that's for the next one.
Oh, so I don't have to relinquish for this one? No, okay.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
So are there any questions on this particular letter? It's responding to the Fair Assist Pilot report a few months ago. Okay, go ahead, Paula.
I just want to say that I went through the whole. What is that? Okay, I went through the whole report, and the letter you've written, I think, covers everything that we wanted to cover. So I just want to say thank you and a very good job.
Thank you very much, Paula. Okay, then, can I have a mover and a seconder to receive all the items 7.1 to 7.9? Moved by Paula, seconded by, did I see Jake's hand in there? Yeah, I'll take Jake's hand. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, then is there anybody opposed? That's great.
James, when does this go? This will go to GIC when?
I believe this goes directly to Nancy Purser, but it's on our agenda, so it's public record.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It does go to Nancy Purser, correct? Yes, it goes to Nancy Purser. Next up is, oh, no, I'm relinquishing chair. I apologize. I missed that one at the very bottom there. I will relinquish the chair, Paula.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have my notes in front of me. I had no internet today.
Oh, okay. Then it's 9.1, attendance by the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities to the L'Arche Walk and Roll. And I will read it out. Registration fees for the Ability First Accessibility Fair, September 4th, 2025. Whereas the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities hosts, oh wait, I've got the wrong one.
Yes.
No, sorry, I started in the wrong one. I apologize, my bad. Attendance by the there we go, that's better. Attendance by the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities to the L'Arche Walk and Roll, whereas the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities Outreach Working Group is tasked with collaborating and networking with other community agencies and organizations, and whereas the L'Arche Walk and Roll is occurring on September 9th, 2025 on the forecourt of City Hall at the cost of $25 to register a table. Therefore, be it resolved that the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities registered to attend the L'Arche Walk and Roll on September 9th, 2025 on the forecourt of City Hall, and that $25 from account 300303 be paid to cover the registration fee.
Okay. Do we have any questions on that for James?
I'm seeing none.
Okay, so can I have a mover to accept? It's a motion, it's not a motion.
Moved by
is it?
me, so we need a seconder.
Can I
see
second?
Levi's hands up.
There you go, Levi, okay. Anybody against? Nope, carried. There you go, James.
Before we move on, Sunil, may I please book a table and a couple of chairs from the lending library for that day? Perfect, thank you very much. Just before I forget. City of Hamilton, motion 9.2. Moved by me, seconded by.
Which is this one? Sorry?
This is the Ability First registration fee so that we can accept registration fees.
Okay, I'll second it.
Can you second? You're chairing.
I don't know, can I second?
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, you can second.
Okay, there you go.
Registration fees for the Ability First Accessibility Fair, September 4th, 2025. Whereas the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities hosts an annual Ability First Accessibility Fair on the forecourt of City Hall to raise awareness and educate people on the need to accommodate people of all abilities. Whereas it is industry practice to charge a nominal registration fee to help pay for renting equipment and providing food to the exhibitors, but also as a means to ensure attendance, give value to the event, and provide an additional incentive for exhibitors to contribute something more to the event by offering to waive the fee. And whereas the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities requires the ability to bring money back into the city's financial system and direct it for future uses like improving the fair by augmenting the fair budget or enhanced advertising. Therefore, be it resolved that the Accessibility Committee for Persons with Disabilities respectfully request permission to accept registration fees for the Ability First Accessibility Fair on September the 4th, 2025 through general fees account 45519 and deposit in an ACPD reserve account 112212 for future use by the committee.
Okay. Do we have any questions on this?
Seeing none.
Seeing none. Levi, can you take the chair for a minute, please? Or somebody?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. James, how much would it be?
It depends on how many exhibitors we have and how many we waive. Usually, just off the top of my head, it would be about $1,000 we'd be bringing back in.
But per table, would it be $25 or?
It's $40 per table.
Oh, 40, because it wasn't in the motion. Okay. Thank you. I'll take back the chair, Levi. Thank you. Okay, so any other questions for James on this motion? Seeing none. Anybody against the motion?
No.
Nope. Motion carried.
Excellent. I will take back the chair,
May
please.
have back the chair, sir.
Thank you. Okay, now we're on to 11, general information, other business. Does anybody have any general information, other business they'd like to discuss?
There's something I'd like to bring up.
Yes, please, Robert.
I was wondering if there was going to be if there has been any movement or there has been any consideration to nurses and PSWs re-examining the parking issue that they're having.
Next meeting. Yes, we're supposed to be meeting with somebody next ACPD meeting. They're supposed to be here.
Oh, very good. Okay, thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. Any other business?
Are you putting the taxes in?
I'm doing that, yeah, if you'd like me to.
I'll take the chair.
Okay, thank you very much.
I will have something to say as well, so I will take the chair for this.
All right, so I've got a few things for other business. First off, I would like to thank Councillor Taddison for his steadfast support recently in the Fair Assist and some of our dealings with HSR. I really do appreciate it, so I want to thank you very much. Okay, I've already discussed the LRT disability justice audit, so I can scratch that off my list. Okay, and now the accessible taxi crisis. I received a letter from one of the taxi brokers recently describing the accessible taxi program being in its final days. Essentially, they're down to 6 accessible taxis on the road. And they've been reaching out to bylaw and they haven't heard much response back on the issue. So I want to put it on everybody's radar. It's extremely important. I'm hoping to have discussions very soon at other committees or working groups, I mean, and hopefully have some sort of, I know that there's the Schedule 25 under review at the moment, which the accessible taxis is included in, I believe. But it needs to be solved sooner rather than later. We've been letting them know for several years now that this is getting worse and worse and worse, and it's really bad now. So I want to bring that to everybody's attention.
Okay, can you take back the chair?
Yep.
Okay, so this was Ron Van Cleef that asked me to do this when I saw him at the Dart's annual general meeting. Very concerned, even about the taxes. They're losing taxes too, because I don't know why they're losing taxes, but the accessible taxes, 6 on the road, as James said, but they're not on the road 24 hours a day. They're on the road when they feel like being on the road. Drivers have said there's no incentive from the city to even put an accessible taxi on the road. It's way too much money to buy or lease one of these vans. The city is giving them $5 per trip as a subsidy. It needs to be $10 a trip for subsidy because it takes, longer to load and unload. So if we don't do something very, very soon, there are going to be no accessible taxis. Uber contributes to this subsidy, right? Because the city asks Uber for so much money per trip, but it's not enough. They need to at least double what they're asking Uber. And Uber has no accessible taxis. So I'm sorry I'm getting on my soapbox, but I'm very concerned about this because it's not right. People are being denied independence.
Chat from Bates. Tomorrow's speaker list.
So
Kara.
What I would like to do is, if we can, write a letter or go delegate. Would it be Public Works or GIC?
Public Works, right? Yeah, probably Public Works.
Public Works, that's what I thought. And I have asked Sunil to see if he can get me something from taxi bylaws again to come to TWG because they're not listening. And I don't know how to make them listen unless I go bonk them on the head. But no, I can't do that. But I don't know how many years we've been doing this, since before COVID even. So that's my 2 cents worth. Sorry, James.
That's okay. Go ahead, Karen.
I hear your concerns. I guess I just wanted to like add in something that I read in the news a couple of days ago, where Uber is now permitting animals in their cars. So I don't know if they ever had like a policy previously for like assistive dogs, but they're permitted now. But I absolutely recognize the contribution of Uber to the lack of accessible taxis right now. But if, in case anyone needed to know that on a personal level, that animals are out there.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, does anybody else have anything to say about this accessible taxi thing?
Robert, Robert's
Robert?
next.
I was
Okay,
just curious, is there a number of accessible taxis that the city has predicted is required to make it viable?
James?
No.
We used to have 40.
And now we're down to maybe less than 6?
Yep.
Okay, so did 40 work appropriately?
40 was good. At the beginning of the pandemic, we had 40 taxis on the road and the program was functional.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like
else?
to add something if you wouldn't mind taking over for a second, Paula.
Okay, I was anyway. That's okay. Go on.
I just wanted to mention that you were talking about fees or fare rates. The bigger issue is the purchasing and outfitting of these accessible vans. It's about $100,000, and it's an investment on behalf of the taxi owner. And the city's accessible taxi program was supposed to be the incentive to getting your van made accessible and getting the training done. And the program has been off and on several times over the past years. People haven't been paid money that they've been missing. So it's there's a number of issues about this program that needs to be sorted out. The city might have to start looking into paying for updating these vehicles if they want to continue some sort of on-demand service.
Right.
Okay.
Will you take the chair, please?
I'll take it back. Yep.
Okay. Through the pandemic, a lot of the drivers just gave back their licenses, right? Because they couldn't afford to keep the vans on the road. So I don't know where all these vans went, but I know to get a license, it's $745, I think. That's on top of getting your van fitted out to be accessible. So I am going to be at Public Works, GIC. I'm going to be all over the place on this because it needs to be fixed. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Paula. And we have Kara for a second.
Pat from Bates. Tamara speaker list. Paula 2 now. Kara 2.
Yeah, just I don't know if anyone knows the answer, and maybe Paula, that's something you'll like look into. But I wonder if the city's like relying on darts to replace the accessible taxi program, like the kind of on demand. No, you know that, eh?
Darts is not an on-demand service.
Right. And they're not like looking at like kind of like augmenting the DART service to like expand the program as a replacement for this. I wonder if there's like been any like thinking about it, or if it's truly just like an oversight, you know?
There may be. I don't know for sure, but it could be. I don't know. Michelle would be the one to answer that one. But darts, no. We try and do same day service. Sorry, I'm wearing my darts hat, sorry. Same day service, but because of all the people who cancel and there's no trips and there's a wait list, it's very hard to do a same day service. So that's why these taxis were so important. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a user of the darts, so like I'm not so familiar with the program, but that's really helpful, Paula. If you want any support, like with your campaign and advocacy, like please reach out to me.
I will. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, everybody. So hopefully we'll be talking about that in the next TWG. All right, then any other business before we adjourn, I believe? I'm seeing none. Then there being no further business, this meeting now is adjourned at 5:21. I can't read the hands of the clock, so it's been a long day. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
James,
Have
you
a
will
great
let
night.
us know when you hear anything about Lance, right?
I will make sure that everybody knows as soon as I do. Tom Cooper is my contact, so
Okay.
thanks for